You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kirsten.
It is Truth on Tap. Get your heard, man. That's right. Every show's the big show, bitches. Yeah.
Some say that karma is a bitch.
You're the bitches and karma is the bitch. I'll be the bitch.
Karma is a bitch.
I'm not a dictator. You're the dick. I'm the tater. That's how that goes.
Okay, so last week I had to travel to
This is my friend who stayed in a haunted hotel. She's very courageous, very courageous.
And apparently there was a Macworld convention going on or something, but I did call
and she left, she ran out of the hotel naked, but she was picked up quickly, surprisingly, by an older gentleman who called himself the Dawn of Time. You're listening to Truth on Tap. This is your host, Kevin Kirsten. We're going to do something a little bit different. This is impromptu today. We're going to talk about some of the differences between Gen Xers and Ys and baby boomers. I first noticed this during the election in 2008 for the president. I noticed it in my own family, but also on a broader scale. And what I noticed was that there is an inherent racism for anybody, not everybody, there's always exceptions. When I say anything like this, I'm talking about in general. And I'm only going on my experience. I don't have data in front of me for most of this stuff. So you can't say, well, that's not true because it's like art. It just can't be wrong. My impression in general is that in the southern states, anything below, I guess, Maryland on that latitude, and then a little bit east because California tends to be rather liberated in this way, tends to be a little racism, tends to be inherent. People grew up with it. It's part of their personalities, and that comes into play on any kind of political decisions. But it's not just that. There's so much more. You know, I know that it's human nature, just as you do, to resist change. And that means in clothing, in music, in behaviors, in styles, in communication, and I could list another 200 nouns. It's just the way it is. Some of us are deep enough to recognize that that's likely. So when we see change come along, we say, all right, instead of being a total a-hole here and just fighting this with everything in me, I'm going to go ahead, reluctantly adopt it, at least learn about it, if not adopt it, and have some tolerance for it, because change is constant. You know, people tend to forget when they were young how much change was going on, but yet when they get older, they don't want the youngins to have change themselves. So that's a lot of it there. That's what I see. Going on into the how they compete, I'd say the baby boomers with the Gen Xers is what I'm going to focus on right now. I notice a strong difference in religion. Religion is a big one. This may not have been true, say, in generation born in 1800 in America and their offspring in 1820. Whole different ballgame there. You have different changes going on socially and culturally, but not so much with religion. Christianity holding the same strength from religion or from generation to generation. There's been a difference here. There's been a huge difference since around 1990. And there are a lot of atheists that have sprung up, a lot of agnostics that have sprung up. There are still plenty of diehard Christians, but that tends to be a rather illustrative line between Gen Xers and baby boomers especially, is the religion in America. And that is Christian versus non-Christian, or Christian versus agnostic, or agnostic. I'm agnostic myself. I have nothing against religion. I'm totally tolerant. I'll go to church with you. I'll fight and die for your right to go to that church. Nothing against any of them, you know, because in my belief system, any of them could be right. You hold out for that possibility. What you do not allow for, if you're in my position, is to be preached to, especially by those who have not perfected their lives. Don't tell me how to behave if you don't behave perfectly. I don't want to hear it. And if you're a living saint, I'll give you that respect. I will. I'll listen to you when you talk about how to live. But until then, don't bring advice to me about how to live. We're animals, in my view, and we're animals with the ability to communicate and a thumb. That's about it. You know, civilization and the civilized man is an idea, and that is taught. You raise somebody in a cave, they're an animal, you know, and they may know right from wrong inherently. We can do the nature versus nurture debate all day long, but we're animals, and people forget that. They believe that we're so far above anything below us on the evolutionary scale that we can't have animal moments, which is a sad thing. Another thing I notice about baby boomers is the tend to want to control, dismiss, and spy upon or be nosy about the generations below them. That's a kind of a crazy thing I don't really understand. I think it comes down to their feeling that control is slipping, and it is right now. There is a transitional period right now. They're walking off the stage, like it or not, and we're walking on. I'm 41, and I'm right at the beginning of this transition. I'm feeling it, and it's not comfortable or uncomfortable. It's just natural. I feel like it's natural. We're the next in line. But it is something I notice as a standard kind of behavior difference. Now, this could be one of those examples where it is typical from generation to generation, where the older generation is nosy and wants to control everything and wants to make judgments on everybody younger than them. It's a pain in the ass, I can tell you that. And just because you're older and you experience things a certain way does not mean that your way is the right way. So take your advice and go throw it on the other side of your house, because I don't want it on this side. I'm not trying to hear what you have to say. You want to talk to me like a human being? Give me some of your ideas. We can do that. But don't tell me how to live, because I'm going to reject that wholeheartedly and fully, even if the ideas are good. If you're like me, you don't like bullies. And from that stems a whole bunch of things. You don't like authority. You don't like people who try to take control, especially over a free person and their rights. In this country, too many people died for my right to cut the grass, say, in the way that I want to. For me to listen to somebody tell me how to do it. It's just not going to happen. So, that's life. That's the way it goes. What about Generation Y? How do they fit into all this? I'm going to be the first to admit to you that I'm not an expert on Generation Y. I'm trying to figure them out. But there is a site here, and they have a report, and I'm bringing it up right now. And they talk about Generation X, Y, and baby boomers. And if I remember correctly, the I guess you would say the flavor with which they bring this argument is in the flavor of recruiting. That is to say, they're talking to people that want to hire, and hopefully I can figure out social. This might be it here. I'll find it in a minute. Don't worry about that. Yeah, Generation X versus baby boomers. I think that's the search term I used to find this article. I was in another browser, which doesn't work with Spreaker, so I had to switch over, so I lost my article. I should have just left that window open so I could see the address. Figuring out boomers. Yeah, I think this is it right here. Let's take a look. Reliable plant these days, Yeah, this is it. So they're coming from kind of a recruiting angle. If you're a headhunter and you're trying to figure out, you got to hire different kinds of talent, you may need to go and look at baby boomers. You may need to look at generations X or Y. I'm going to go ahead and read you what they have to say about baby boomers, X and Y, because it's short for each one. We're going to start with baby boomers. Now, these people grew up with the philosophy that you can do anything and be anyone you want to be. They have a strong work ethic and aren't afraid to work long hours. They place a high value on status and career path focused. And are career path focused. They are the toughest to recruit if they are in a passive recruiting mode, because they tend to have a strong sense of loyalty to their employer. They are most willing to put in long hours at the office, whether it's to get the job done or just put in the hours. They are attracted to titles and career paths and place less value on vacation time, flex time, or even money, provided their financial needs are met. Now you're getting into Generation X. Here are my people. This is probably the least understood of the three groups. These people are sometimes viewed as lazy and as whiners. The truth is that this group started the whole work-life balance concept that has come to benefit everyone in the workplace. They aren't lazy, nor do they whine. Gen Xers simply don't believe you have to work 60 hours a week to get ahead in life. Instead, they believe in value. They're attached to flexible work schedules. They'll take less money if they can only work 40 hours and have time off to spend with family, take a vacation, or participate in their favorite hobby. They've seen the baby boomers get laid off. They've seen their friends lose big money in the dot-com area, and they don't believe they'll benefit from Social Security. As a result, they want their money now in the form of salary, 401k and bonuses. Stock options and deferred compensation have less appeal to this generation. All right, so there's your Generation Xers. Generation Y, the youngins. This group is the most diverse. These people are the most technologically savvy, and the word instant is their mantra. This is the group that wonders how the world functioned on dial-up or without cell phones or instant messaging. They have a strong ability to relate to one another without face-to-face interaction. If you need to recruit employees from this group, you must have technology and be incredibly flexible with their work schedules. As you can see, the similarities and differences among these three generational groups can be subtle and significant. My hope is that you at least take these differences into account when you are recruiting new plant employees or managing employee performance so you can maximize your talent management strategies. And this is from John Ha, who is the president of Reliability Careers, a provider of workforce solutions for reliability and maintenance industry. I think it's a good article. I think when you look at the backbiting dog-eat-dog sense of progress in a capitalist society, you're looking at it from an employer/recruiter's point of view, aren't you? You're looking at it from who can make money for who. And this article sums that up. That makes it more truthful, more honest in its intention. You know, we're looking to participate in the modern day slave trade. That's what headhunting is. And we got to find good people for what we're trying to get done on a job wise. You know, you're recruiting people to sell to other people. You're going to take a little bit of money off the top, and they're going to get a job, and you know that's how it works with the recruiting. So it's a very unhidden, clear, transparent, if you will, practice, and I think it reveals a lot. And if this is what they're thinking about Generation X and Y and baby boomers, I think it's important. But let's talk about some of the other fundamental differences. I'm going to give you an example. There was a person very close to me who is a baby boomer, and the night in 2008 that Barack Obama was elected, this is one of the first things she said. I heard this. She said, "Look at him walking across that stage like that." And I said, like what? And she said, like he owns the place. Oh, cool. Really? Right now, I knew this person very well, so I already knew that she had that standard form of racism, not the outward form, but that kind that was already in there in the typical baby boomer. So I knew that, but if I didn't know that, I would have been fairly offended by that. What do you mean how he's walking? What is it? Oh, he's doing the black guy thing. I see. Yeah, shame on him. He shouldn't be proud. He just won the nomination for the president from the American people. You know, and I feel sorry for conservatives that are not racist, truly aren't racist in their heart, that realize you don't get to pick what color you're born, that realize no color is better than another color, yet they are suspect on the far left for being racist. That's sad to me, because for those that aren't, you know, they just don't like him as a person or don't like his policies. I respect that. I really do. I can't respect it when you don't like a person for their color. That bothers me because that's something they can't change. And it necessarily means that you think your color is better. So there are a bunch of things going on in that thought process that make me not comfortable with your thought process. So this is a baby boomer thing. They grew up in an area where you can blame a lot of things. Can you say that the white people were intimidated by the education of blacks? Sure looks that way when you look at how the school system integration worked. Can you say that men in offices and high positions were worried that blacks might come along and compete with them? I'd say so. They always kept them at the lower level jobs, regardless of their education level. And granted, in general, blacks have a lower education level. That's a lot less true these days, but it was especially true back in the 50s and 60s and before. But it peaked in the 50s and 60s when they started comparing, you know, education levels. And that has a lot to do not with them, but with their situation. You know, it's not that they can't learn. They are not apes, and I get sick and tired of seeing racists think of them that way. They just happen to be, you know, you take a look at the blacks in the UK, and you take a look at the blacks in different parts of Africa that are well developed, and they are incredibly articulate and intelligent people. Some of the greatest scientific discoveries ever made were by black people, and to see racist toward that, to me, just tells me you're scared. That's what I get from it. And in my experience in psychology, I can't see anything else. You're just scared. You're scared that somebody with a different tone of skin is going to compete with you. When really, before, you used to own them like dogs. Uh, that's for the hardcore racists. For those of you that aren't racist, even if you're a baby boomer, you know, I'm not talking about you. I realize that you see the whole picture. Another big difference that you'll see between baby boomers, Gen X, and Gen Y, is manners, basic manners in public. You know, holding doors open for people, not playing your music so loud that the light turns purple, um, saying thank you, saying please, um, shaking hands. It can go on. I found recently that there is a surprise there, that you will occasionally deal with baby boomers who take the opposite approach. They don't even have the manners to introduce themselves before they start telling you how to live. That's sad to me because I thought that was standard in American life, and maybe started slipping with the up and coming of Generation X, the leniency that was given to the children. But I had no idea that you would actually find some baby boomers until recently who didn't have basic manners. You know, introduce themselves, tell you their name, ask you your name before they start telling you how to live your life. Well, I was surprised. I really was. And I remember thinking, when I become older, I want to set an example for the younger ones. And I certainly won't be behaving like that. I would think that I would want to be more mature and allow them to have their little anger fits or whatever it is, and not, you know, not retaliate. Just let them flex their emotional muscles and give them something, give them a role model. You might as well. I mean, they're going to base some of the things they do on role models, so if you're going to be a role model, be a good one. And that means being kind, being polite, you know, basic manners, introducing yourself to your neighbors. These are things that are lacking in some cases, and it's not going to be something that I'm lacking. Uh, Other areas that are much different between these three groups are styles. That's clothing and music. You know, with the boomers, they come up in the waltz era. They had appreciation, some of them, for classical music. A lot of country music fans there. I can't do country music. I find it very depressing. I used to try to do it, and song after song, I just kept, if I had to sum it up in one word, it would be loss. There was always loss. And I had to get away from that. It just became part of my living philosophy to try to keep negative things outside of my local view. Even though I knew they were happening, I wouldn't ignore them. I would just push them aside. If I couldn't do anything about them, why am I going to stare at them? It's kind of like going by a car accident where someone's been decapitated and stopping the car to stare. You know, the medical professionals are there. They're doing their thing. Why are you going to traumatize yourself like that? Anyway, this goes on, and again, for me, the least understood of these groups is Generation Y. I don't think they've been around long enough for me to gain a feel for them in general. But what I do sense in them, and what I'm very proud of with them, and this is a surprise to me, but it came as a surprise to me after I thought about how they're getting along with each other. Generation Y tends to have a lot less racism. They tend to understand integration. They understand equality. We've done something right, haven't we? Because we've taught them how to be with the other races, both sexes, uh, transgender, gay marriage. You know, non-tolerance is the spawn of unhappiness, of anger, and sometimes of war. You've got to tolerate. Intolerance will kill your happiness. So they're going to be a pretty happy generation. And my guess is that stemming from that, they will also carry that baby boomer belief that you can do anything that you put your mind to. And they've been told that as well. So if you've got happiness on your side, if you've got hope on your side, and the belief that you can do anything, I think when they're in the workforce and they're just starting to come in now, they're going to do things, huge things, because they're going to realize there really aren't any limits, that these social constraints that even Xers and baby boomers fit into do not necessarily need to stay the way they were. They can be expanded. You're getting your flex time at work. You can work on separate projects. Your job will start seriously taking your suggestions. You can run with your suggestions. They're going to give you an ability to progress with your ideas at the workplace. That's a big deal. I mean, letting people get involved in where the direction of a company, that's huge. And that's coming. I mean, I see it already. We're getting a lot better that way. Telecommunication is going to be, not telecommunication, but telecommuting is going to be a big deal. That's coming. It's already here in a lot of cases, but there's still a trust issue. If you're at home, are you distracted? Are you paying more attention to the cats or the baby than you are your job? That can all be easily remedied by simply having goals and quotas, something to measure your progress with. If you're doing better in the office than you are at home, well, they're going to keep you in the office. But if you can go home and get your work done, especially if you're doing even better at home, well, they're going to let you work from home. So that's coming. And there are always limits, like the service industry where you've got to be on site. The medical professionals, there are a lot of jobs that are never going to be able to be done at home. But there are a lot that are. And that are current, it'll reduce pollution. It's going to reduce accidents. There are a million great things about telecommuting. So hopefully that will develop. I'm looking forward to it. Let's see how much time we've got here. We've got about 9 minutes left. I'm going to end the show today with let's see, I don't know. Yeah, I think I'll do Your Love by Bad Ace. We'll do that. And for those that may have forgotten what they're listening to, let me just
You're
help you out.
listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
That's me right there. Yeah, that's Wes Johnson, Capitals Arena announcer. What else is going on between these generations that really needs to be addressed? I think that there is a rising sense of anger among the baby boomers toward the younger generation. Maybe they were born in a time where tolerance took a dip, and so their tolerance is becoming maxed out with these new ideas and this transgender and gay marriage and all kinds of things going on like that. A little too crazy for them, so they're not accepting it. And they're going to reject it at every point. So how might that play out? Well, if they get angry enough and they're severing their relationships with the younger generations, it's going to create interesting family situations when it comes to how to take care of them in their retirement years as they get to that age where they're going to need assisted living at a minimum, and maybe fully assisted living, like a nursing home. What's going to happen when they've cut off everybody that knows them from younger generations? All their friends are dead. Their spouses are equally as disabled, and they've been mad at everybody, so they're not getting any help. So that's going to be one of those things where I guess the government will just have to step in a social services capacity and try to help them, because relationships are suffering between Xers and baby boomers. We're at a critical point right now. We are at a turning point. This is one of what I would say the bigger differences that you'll see between just two generations that are right next to each other. Whereas before, until you get back to, say, maybe the Civil War era or the Revolutionary War era, where you would have huge differences between two adjacent generations. This is a big one. This is a big one. We're here now, and it comes down really to tolerance. Tolerance is a huge keyword of differences. We've almost discovered everything. We've sort of accepted the gay thing. We've sort of accepted when people want to be born men but become women and vice versa. Not a lot of people hiding stuff right now, are they? It's all kind of coming out in the open. So I think the changes as we go on will be smaller. But this is a great coming out of the closet moment, And when I say great, I mean big. I'm not trying to say I'm a huge supporter of it. I'm tolerant. I believe I have to be. I have to be happy, so I'm going to be tolerant regardless of whether I should or not. Life is too short. If you want to be happy, you got to figure out a way to be tolerant. Everybody should have their limits, but where those limits are something you can redefine with understanding. It's really that simple. I'll tell you what, it's been 25 minutes since this broadcast started. We can continue the broadcast later if you want. I will let you continue the conversation if you like at Facebook. That's facebook.com/truthontapshow. I am going to cue up here Your Love by Bad Ace. And we're getting ready to call it not a day, but a half day. How about that? You've been listening to Truth on Tap with your host, Kevin Kierstead. I want to thank you for tuning in today. Peace!
You don't know what you're doing to me. You don't know the way you make me feel. What it does when you give that look. It steals my heart now, baby. That's not all you took. Something else has to come back. I got to have your love, your love, your love, your love, your love, your love. Your love is filling me up with tears. Your love is killing me. I can't live with myself until I have your love, your love, your love, your love. You said, baby, don't hold on. Well, if I let go, what will I do? I don't want to hear those words from you. All I want to do is hold on to your love, your love, your love, your love. Ooh, baby, I knew that you'd come through. So let me give all of my loving on to you. Well, come on, girl, hold me closer. Now that